Thursday, July 16th, 2026. It's today. It's always been today. And it has become my hell. Today, after today, I wake up to the sound of my alarm ringing at 8 a.m. For the next 16 hours, I can do whatever I like, with absolutely no consequences. Because I know that no matter what I do, I will never reach July 17th. No matter what, the second the clock strikes midnight, I'll be transported back to my bed, my alarm ringing at 8 a.m., and the day will repeat again. I'd do anything for July 17th. And I have. And yet, July 17th will never come. For the rest of eternity, I am stuck within this day, hoping, praying for any sort of escape. But that escape never reveals itself. And even though I practically have the world at my fingertips, I have never felt more trapped. Despite all this, I still remember the first day of my predicament. The thing I remember most about it was how unassuming I was. Songs repeated on the radio. The DJ must have gotten lazy. The same people walking down the same street. Must be their commute. Every clue, every instance of my situation, I ignored, or chalked up to a technological mistake. It wasn't until I had gotten to work that the situation clicked for me. A coworker had walked by my office simply to make idle conversation, as he had done the day before. The same conversation as the day before, in fact. Exactly the same conversation before. Even down to the stutters in his speech. Confused, I asked him if we had this conversation before. I had. He hadn't. Through my confusion, I finally asked him what date it was. His words still echo in my mind, even now. July 16th. Initially chalking up to a mistake on his part, I asked him again. His answer remained unchanged. I asked my coworkers for the date. July 16th, 2026. I talked to friends. July 16th, 2026. I called family. July 16th, 2026. I asked people on the street. July 16th, 2026. Newspapers, computers, clocks, calendars, everyone on the planet. July 16th, 2026. Within my newfound confusion, I tried desperately to think about what I would do. Half of me wanted to believe that this was some sort of cosmic mistake. For whatever reason, the universe decided to repeat today for everyone except me. It was just a one-off fluke. It happened once, and now I could go on with my life. But the other half of me was terrified. What if this was only the beginning? What if I was stuck here, the foreseeable future with no escape? What if today was my new eternity? Both options weighed heavily in my head. Eventually, I was able to lay my head to sleep, only to be awoken by the sound of my alarm ringing at 8 a.m. Now, I had watched several movies and shows in which a character gets stuck in this very same dilemma. A character is forced to repeat the same day over and over until they arrive at some grand epiphany with their life. And that's what I figured I had to do. I needed my grand epiphany. Obviously, the way I had been living my life was no good. I had done something wrong, or I was going down the wrong path. Whatever it was, it needed to be corrected. And I spent the next 23,486 days trying to make that correction. Over that period of time, I took it as my chance to perfect myself, despite the fact that I didn't know what needed perfecting. It took me 2,583 days to master the piano, also that I could play a perfect version of Brahms' Lullaby for a group of sick children in the hospital at 12:17. It took me 6,038 days to learn and memorize the complete workings of the human heart, just so I could help save a man who was going to have a heart attack at 2:49. It took me 5,235 days to become fluent in Min Chinese just because a confused woman from the Fujian province was going to ask for directions at 6:27. I just wish I could remember why any of it mattered. The only thing I could never master was any physical change. Due to the nature of my situation, any change to my body is instantly undone by the time I wake up the next day. I can start, but never finish. If I even try to make a single brushstroke on a canvas, I can guarantee that canvas will be blank again within only a couple of hours. And forget about any relationships with other people. I can't exactly build upon a past when the other person is unaware of that past. This inability to cause any physical change soon became the most frustrating thing of all. Not only can I never finish anything that I've started, but there's barely any time to start. For the first few hours after I wake up, I need to plan exactly what I'm going to do for that today. And any time wasted is just something that I'll have to redo the next today. Still, I was able to make the limited time I had work, despite my frustrations. And after 23,487 days, I thought I had finally done it. After 23,487 days, I had managed to craft what I thought was the perfect today. Then, after 23,488 days, I managed to do it again. Then, after 23,489 days, I did it again. And again. And again. Something wasn't working. I was still here. That's when I realized that if there was a way to escape the loop, then I was doing it wrong. I never needed to do any of this. I had wasted my time. Angry and frustrated, I had to consider my limited options. As much as I didn't know what caused me to enter this repetition, I had no clue how to get out. I spent days racking my brain, trying desperately to think of some sort of way to escape. But eventually, I had to face a hard truth, one that was staring me in the face, only I had refused to open my eyes to acknowledge it. I had to die. I have to admit, I was scared at first. Like any normal human being, if you can even call me that anymore, the thought of my own demise terrified me. But I had to weigh my options. I could either be stuck repeating today for God knows how long, or die. And death was looking like the more attractive option. I eventually decided a mixture of pills in my medicine cabinet would most likely be my best option. At least with an overdose, I would barely be conscious when it happened. If I mixed the right pills, there's a chance I could get it over with even quicker. It would be quick, convenient, and most importantly, painless. Or so I thought. I scoured my house for as many different pills as I could find and poured myself a glass of water. I took one of each, sat back, and waited. Before long, the effects kicked in. As my head felt lighter, my body soon became heavier, as if an elephant was lying on my chest. Objects in front of me faded from my view as my sight was replaced with abstract colors and shapes. My brain stopped, then started again, all in a millisecond. All I could feel was pain, yet at the same time, I had never felt better. I wasn't even thinking. I was just being. My brain continued overloading as I seized and went down on the floor, foam streaming from my lips. It was a million colors all at once, and then black. Nothing. That's when the alarm rang. It was then that I realized there was no exit from my repetition. There was no grander reason as to why I was put here. No secret purpose that I had needed to unlock. No greater understanding to be learned. No change. No growth. No point. I simply am. Soon after that, I lost track of the todays. Counting them only made it worse. I can't recall exactly how long I spent in bed, loathing my own existence. My only glimmer of hope was when I would first wake up in the morning. There was always the hope that just as mysteriously as I entered this loop, I would exit. Then I would check the date. July 16th, 2026. After a while, I stopped doing even that. I didn't want to face the world, because I knew it was going to be that same world tomorrow when I woke up. That is, if tomorrow even existed. Soon everything went away. All feelings, all emotions, everything. All that was left was numbness. Why even bother at that point? Nothing mattered anymore. That's when it hit me. If nothing mattered, then why care? Nothing could stop me. In my prison, I had finally found my freedom. I started off by trying to steal a car. I looked around as I smashed open the window and opened the door. Using my knowledge of wires that I had probably gained at some point, I hotwired the car and sped off. Eventually, I stopped and checked the glove compartment for any registration. There, I saw my name. I didn't remember it was my car. The next day, I decided to rob a bank, but as I walked in, I realized I knew everyone's faces. Countless faces that I had learned over countless todays. Despite this, I pulled out a gun and threatened the teller. Unfortunately, she was more confused than anything. It turns out I had called her by her college nickname. As I grew more and more bored, my mind craved creativity. I had started timing myself to see how long it would take before a cop shot me. My record is 1 minute 32 seconds. One day, I stalked a random man for the entire day, just to see if he would notice me. At 4:58, he finally snapped. In retrospect, maybe I went a bit too far when I said the name of his childhood dog. Eventually, even that was no longer enough. I had tried to reason with myself that as long as I never took a life, I would retain some aspect of my humanity, but as I became less and less creative over thousands and thousands of todays, it became my only option. It was the only thing I hadn't tried. I barely remember my first murder. I don't remember where I did it. I don't remember how I did it. I don't remember who I did it to. All I remember is the feeling. And that feeling wasn't guilt. The most off-putting part about my newfound bloodlust was that by the next day, my victims would be walking down the same street, smiling and waving at me, none the wiser to what I did to them. I found it absolutely sickening. Don't smile at me. Don't wave. Don't you know what I did? Do you know how I defiled you? I've seen your blood, your guts, your vital organs, and yet you dare smile at me as if nothing happened? I've torn apart your flesh, and yet you still stand, none the wiser. You're lucky you only get 1 second chance, because I've had infinite. Given enough time, even murder got stale. Eventually, it just became a part of my day, with as little thought behind it as blinking or breathing. That's when the numbness managed to creep back in. I found that the only thing that could consistently bring feeling was death. All I really longed for was that momentary experience of thoughtlessness before my alarm rang. It only ever lasted for a second, but that second meant everything to me. Today after today, I would find new ways to end my own life, putting aside those existential fears that I had experienced when planning my first attempt. I memorized train schedules so that I could jump in front of them easier. I drank countless poisons, trying to find which one killed me the fastest. I would repeat personal facts about people, just hoping that one of them would get freaked out enough to kill me. My one wish is the one that can never be granted. An end My friends and family are complete strangers to me now. People will often approach me, acting as if we've known each other for years. For all I know, we could have. But I can barely tell the strangers apart from my own parents. I can't even see the resemblance anymore. All I see on the walls of my house are unfamiliar faces, including my own. I don't recognize the feeling behind my eyes in those photos. All I know anymore is today. From another's perspective, I changed into a completely different person overnight. One who doesn't even remember their faces. And explaining it only causes more confusion. I see very little point in explaining my condition. I mean, why bother when I'm just going to have to explain it again? Even now, I find myself telling my story to someone who has already heard that same story countless times before. And you never remember any of it. Nobody except me remembers. And that is my curse. I don't remember much about life outside of today. I've memorized routines, faces, conversations, but I can't recall a thing about myself. I can look at photos and documents regarding myself, but I don't remember any of it. I look in the mirror and don't recognize my own face. I don't remember my name, or if I ever had one to begin with. All I was, all I am, all I will ever be is Thursday, July 16th, 2026. It's today. It's always been today. And it has become my hell.